So today, taking my first look at management career mode, we're going to be simming out the 2025 season, having a look at the results. We're not going to be in control today. We are going to pick a team though. I'm going to predict who I think is going to win the flag. I'm going to pick the doggies today. They've had a good start to the season. They're a little smoky to win the flag this season. So we are in for the start of the 2025 season. Make sure you leave a comment down below now who you think is going to win the flag in this simulated season. But let's start it off. Like I said, we're going to let management do everything for us. So we're not going to be messing around with the dogs. We're not going to make trades. Let's take a look at what's happened in opening round. To start off the season, Brizzy have beaten Geelong. Hawthorn have taken down Sydney at the SCG. Gold Coast have got up over Essendon, and GWS have defeated Collingwood. So the rest of the teams are with the bye. So compared to the real life season, these two games went exactly how they did in real life. Hawthorn get the win over Sydney, and the Giants beat Collingwood. So pretty accurate there. And then Brisbane and Geelong didn't play their match in this round, and neither did Gold Coast and Essendon. So after round two, the Dogs are currently ninth on the ladder, but Freo and West Coast, the two WA teams, started off 2-0. They face each other next, so we might have a look at that. We'll start simming out some of this season. Taking a look at the bottom of the ladder, Melbourne started out how they did in real life. They're 0-2. Port 0-2, Geelong 0-3, and Sydney 0-3. So that's surprising there. Two good teams on the bottom. So we actually have a draw here. The Dogs ended up drawing with the Blues at the start of round three. And at the end of round three, Freo win the Derby easily. Not good kicking from the Eagles. A few other results on screen here if you are interested. Few teams at the bye due to the opening round. So now we've reached round seven. Maybe my prediction's looking pretty good at the moment. The Dogs currently 5 wins, 1 loss and 1 draw. Don't think they have lost a game since we skipped to round seven. The Dons just outside. The Pies, big shock, being in 10th at the moment in real life, currently number 1 on the ladder as I'm recording this video. Tigers haven't had the worst season so far. And the disappointments, Geelong down here in 17th. Now they're competing for a top 4 spot at the moment, so that is definitely a shock. Surprisingly, Harry Perryman leading the league. I'm not sure about that. Another surprising one here is Nat Fyfe, just under merit, 191 disposed for the year. So he's back, he's healthy, he's putting together a good year. So now taking a look at the goals, Jay Whitlock, 12 goals for the year, gone 12. So no big bags just yet, it looks like. Lynchy on 11, Perkins 12, so definitely a weird sort of list. Take a look at marks. Setterfield with 35, Bailey Smith with 29. That's an odd one too. You'd think you'd have a key back there. Tackles, I think Tom Atkins would be leading it in the AFL currently. He's nowhere to be seen. We'll move on to clearances. Who's winning it out the middle? Perryman. So they've put him in the middle. That's why he's got all these disposals. Hitouts, Varel. Now, I haven't heard of this guy. I'm sure he's alright, but a bit of a weird one. Where's Gorney? Is he just not in the ruck at the moment? Is he out forward? He must be because he had those 12 goals. Just a 41 hit outs for Gorn. A bit of a weird move from Melbourne there. So that was definitely very interesting to look at. We're going to sim to about round 14 now. We'll take a look at what's changed. So we're now at round 14. The Dogs have just actually taken their second loss for the season. So let's take a look at the ladder. And after round 14, the Hawks have now hit the top of the ladder. They have played the one extra game than the Dogs, though. Adelaide climbed the ladder up into third, so the ladder has changed around a fair bit. The Giants up to fourth. Brisbane currently in fifth. Sydney have jumped at the start of the season. If you can remember, they started off 0-3, I think it was. They're now up to sixth. Carlton still around that seventh mark. Freo have dropped a bit since we last looked. They're now in eighth. The Pies, 12th. Geelong have jumped a bit. They're starting to climb, starting to replicate their form in real life. They're up to 13th at the start of the season. They were also 0-3. They've turned around a bit. Melbourne, 4-10 at the moment in 17th. North, taking out the wooden spoon at the moment, 3-10. West Coast have dropped off since their early form at the start of the year. Started 2-0. Looks like they've gone 2-8 for the rest of the year. We're going to keep simulating through, though. We're going to see what happens towards the end of the year, see if there's many changes. So now it's time to look at the ladder after round 19. Fair few changes might have occurred here. Sydney have stormed home. The Dogs actually went on a 3-game losing streak, as you can see at that last 5 matches column. Hawthorn still sitting in first, though. Adelaide up to second. Giants still hanging around, almost in the top 4. Brisbane the same, just dropped the 1 spot. I believe they're in 5th. Collingwood have started to come home well, 10 and 8 at the moment. Saints 10 and 8, they're doing well. Carlton, Essendon, both fighting for a spot in the final. Surprisingly, Gold Coast not replicating their form from the real life season right now. They're top 4, but in this simulated season, they're bottom 4. So that is interesting to see. We'll have a quick look at the stats before round 20. Disposals, Libba now leading the league. This is looking more accurate to what it would in real life. A lot of possession winners here. I wonder what's happened to Perryman. He still played pretty much every game, I think. He just dropped off a bit. Maybe they're not using him in the middle. Bont having a good year as well. And for the goal scorers, Riley West leading the table. This Whitlock bloke still out there. He's on 27. Hipwood 24, Rochelle and Dilthorpe for Adelaide doing well as well. And we've made it to round 24. So let's go take a look at the ladder. The Doggies now on top after their 5-game winning streak. They're back in good form. Adelaide currently in second. Hawthorn dropped from that top spot down to third. Sydney up there in fourth after the bad start. The Pies now making their move for finals. And Geelong might be too little too late for them to make a push for finals. They cannot make it. So it looks like the Giants, Carlton and Freo will be fighting for this last spot in the finals. So in the last match of the season for the Dogs, they take out the win. And after round 24, here were the results. So Carlton got the win over Essendon, but it looks like Giants secured their spot in the finals. Brisbane had a bad loss. They might drop a bit, I think. Richmond end up picking up a win against Geelong. West Coast beat Sydney. Let's take a look at the ladder and where everyone finished up. So the Dogs end up getting that top spot. Our prediction is looking good at the moment. Hawthorn hang on to second. Adelaide third. Sydney fourth. Collingwood fifth. Saints in sixth. Giants hang on to seventh there. They go up 1 spot, I think. The Lions up in eighth. And the Blues did not make the finals. Neither did Freo. Geelong end up finishing in 12th, which is surprising compared to how they're going real life. Good season from North. West Coast finishing 14th. Pretty good for them compared to their real life season at the moment. Gold Coast bottom 4. That was a shock. Melbourne end up bottoming out and finishing at the bottom. Tigers did all right for their current list to finish 17th. So I think we're up to finals now. Let's see how this plays out. Here are the stats at the end of the season. Tom Green, most touches. He ended up playing every match. Libba in second. If he had played one more, he must have been injured for a week. He would have finished with the most disposals for the year. But Connor Nash, a surprise here. 586 touches for the big midfielder. Sam Berry here, that's very surprising. Perryman still ended up with a good season in the top 15 or so players. Good on him. Cripper, another good year. Leading goal scorer, Riley West is going to take out the Coleman. Whitlock did all right as well. Hipwood, good season. So moving on to the finals. Here's a look at the first week. The Dogs will be taking on Sydney at home at Marvel, I believe. Hawks take on Adelaide. Collingwood play off against Brisbane at the G. And Saints play the Giants. So some big matches here. So it looks like first versus fourth will be the first match of the week. See what the Dogs can produce. They end up pulling away with the win. They win the first week. Sydney will have to play off in an elimination final. In the first week, Hawks defeat Adelaide. The Pies beat Brisbane in an elimination final, and the Giants beat the Saints. Whoever wins out of Sydney and Collingwood will be taking on Hawthorn, and then we will be taking on, or the Dogs will be taking on the winner of Adelaide and the Giants. So let's see what happens. Simulate through. So it looks like Sydney beat Collingwood and Adelaide lost to the Giants at Adelaide Oval. So might have been a bit of an upset there considering I think they made the top four. But the Dogs to take on the Giants for a spot in the granny and Hawthorn to take on Sydney. Let's find out what happens. Simulate through this. The Dogs win comfortably and they have a free ticket to the grand final. So let's have a look at the finals. It looks like Hawthorn beats Sydney by 2 points and a Dogs Hawthorn grand final. So something that could definitely happen in real life. Hawks in a bit of a slump at the moment as at the time of recording, but they could turn it around pretty easily. We saw from their form at the start of the season they were looking good. So I was thinking about sitting there and watching this match, but I think it's going to be a bit too long on 7.5 minute quarters. Let's hit simulate now though. Let's see if the Dogs can win the grand final, and they do. So our prediction was actually correct. Pretty nuts. I wasn't too sure predicting the Dogs at the start. I thought they were a bit of a smoky, but it looks like they've ended up winning the flag. Matt Kennedy's finished up with 35 and Bont has finished up with 35, so they might be playing off for a Norm Smith medal. Libba with the 29. Connor Nash had a great game. He's been good this year, 33 touches. Let's have a look at the goals. Bont with the 4, so I think he would have taken out the Norm Smith for sure. Let's head through and have a look at the awards. So here's a look at the Brownlow. Tom Green takes it out with 29 votes. Looks like they've fixed up the Brownlow simulator on AFL23. I think they had Ruckman or forwards winning it every year, so good to see they've fixed it up. Tom Green takes it out. Dunkley, runner up. Nash with a good year finishes in third. Libba in fourth. So now moving on to the Coleman we saw before. Riley West takes out with 33 goals. Rising star Harvey Langford for the Melbourne Demons. All Australian teams. Harry Edwards. Don't know about that. Left back pocket. Ben Miller at fullback. Dougal Howard. Definitely an odd All Australian team to start off. Sam Collins, Josh Battle, and Ridley. That's a bit more realistic. DeConing on the wing for the Blues. That's odd. Libba in the middle for the Dogs. He takes it out. Sam Draper on the right wing. So it looks like the AI's been a bit glitchy with the Ruckman, though. They've put him out on the wing, and two of them have ended up here with an All Australian jacket. English wins it in the ruck, though, so that's a bit more traditional. Tom Green, Rover, and Nash with the good season. Fogarty up forward takes it out for Adelaide. Logan McDonald at centre half forward, and Lynch. Then Sam Darcy in the pocket, Gilthorpe and Mychek. On the bench, we have Dawson, Dunkley, Wines, and Taranto. So four midfielders. Interesting All-Australian team there. But that's going to do it in this one. If you want to see me simulate through the 2026 season, let me know in the comments below. But thanks for watching.